we really think that we need to take care of our teams, but we expect our teams to also sort of meet us at the line and take accountability and provide really excellent service for the people we serve.
Today's episode is one for the founders who are done hiring help that doesn't actually help. You want a real team, a team that gets it, owns it, and grows with you. So I brought in two of the most value-driven, strategy-smart founders I know, Matt Budden and Matt Smith from Worth with 3 T's. These guys are the real deal. They're fractional CFOs who don't just understand the numbers, they understand people. And they've built a business that proves you can scale with soul. We talk about what really takes to build a team that doesn't just execute, but believes. We go deep into what most founders get wrong about hiring, what culture actually means. Spoiler alert, is not a ping pong table. And how these two friends turned business partners are challenging every startup cliche out there. If you ever felt like delegation is a trap or hiring just creates more work, this episode will give you a whole new lens. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, and today I have 2 very special guests with me. This is the second time only that we have 2 guests here at the same time. And the first time was my daughters. So you guys are very special. We have 2 boys this time, right? So Matt Budden and Matt Smith are from Worth with 3 T's, and that's for transforming tomorrow together. And we have met because they were referred to me by my lawyer, the amazing Paige, who you guys have heard here on the podcast. They helped me through doing an evaluation of one of my businesses, and I was just so impressed with how kind and caring and amazing at their job they are. And I wanted to have them back here because they have so much value to share when it comes to how to build a team, how to make sure there is a culture that transforms the workplace in a place where the team is actually, wanting to be there and wanting to see the success of the company. So I wanted to invite them to share all of the goodness with you guys. So welcome, guys.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. I'm feeling a little bit nervous because I listened to the episode with your daughters and they were the real MVPs. So
I mean, it's going to be hard to fill those shoes. So we'll see what you can do today.
We definitely won't live up to it, but we'll give a good shot. Thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. So I just want to start with talking a little bit more about what you guys do and how did you come to owning your own business? I know there was a life before, your entrepreneurship life. So I want to hear a little bit about that story. How did you two end up working together? And we're going to touch a little bit on that later. Like what does it mean to work with a friend or with a partner? Because I think that's something that people don't talk about it as much as well. So tell me, what was life before entrepreneurship for you guys?
Sure. I'm happy to kick us off. We both are, you'll hear from our accents. We have very weird accents. We're from South Africa and Matt's still based there. I'm based in the US. We both have a very, very similar path in how we got to where we got to. So we always say we cut from the same cloth in that respect. In South Africa, it's very, very common, just given the unemployment and the opportunities available to really pursue professional services. Most people become, or at least strive to become doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers. And Matt and I both pursued the route of becoming accountants. And so what that looks like in South Africa is a sort of 4-5-year degree, post-grad and undergrad. And then we have to go and do 3 years of internship, which you go into practice and you actually spend the time learning. You have to do some board exams during that time. And that is actually where Matt and I met. Most people go and do their accounting internship in sort of audit and auditing business. Matt actually had a little bit of an opportunity to do that. And I wangled my way into a corporate finance division and became qualified through that path. And Matt had already moved over to that division. So that's where we met and started building a relationship from a working perspective. But we were also friends outside of work, which was really, really special. And yeah, post that time, I think it's important to know that the work that we were doing was mainly in the mergers and acquisition space. So we helped you with a valuation that was primarily some of the work we did, as well as what they call financial due diligence, where you sort of go into companies and lift the hood and see, are there opportunities and red flags when people are buying and selling businesses. Matt was on the structuring side, so he helped people think about structures of how they do deals, as well as just make it as optimized for taxes as possible. And post that, after my articles, I decided to move on to another firm just because I love the people element of business and I love getting to interact with leaders. And so I moved over to a fractional CFO firm that was based in the US and in South Africa. I then asked Matt, please come and join us because he's the best in the business. And he trusted me and moved across. And we sort of were elevated to leadership in that business. And then, subsequently from that point, that's sort of where Worth was built post that, where we got to partner with an awesome partner who's mainly in the personal wealth space. And she helped us in terms of saying that if she can look after a client's personal wealth, often the starting point of that wealth comes from entrepreneurs running businesses. And so we've been in the business of what we would call fractional CFO services. I think that gets a weird name thrown around. People sometimes think it as a glorified bookkeeper, but our focus is very much thinking about the future alongside business owners. So we use finance and the financial lens to understand the story that the numbers are telling us. But most importantly, we're trying to help leaders and business owners build scalable, sustainable businesses and be clever with their decision making based on what we see from the numbers.
Matt Smith, how scary it was to jump into having your own business from after all, this years of working for somebody else?
It was scary. I think it wasn't scary doing it with Matt, that definitely, and I know we'll touch on partnership a bit later, but that definitely helped knowing that we were doing it together. And then, Matt mentioned that we had this partner who was really critical and crucial in our decision. She really backed us. She was a close friend, and she is a close friend at the time and now. She really saw that there was a lot of potential in us and encouraged us to do that. And so it wasn't as scary as us just closing our laptops one day and setting off on a new venture. We had, I can't really even put it into words on this call, just how much of a big impact she had on really encouraging us to go out and do it. In the background, Matt and I had always spoken about doing business together for years before that point. And so there was this deep familiarity and connection between him and I that, our whole families are friends, our wives are friends. And so there was an ease to stepping into it that I think we are very fortunate that we had. And so it didn't feel quite as daunting. There were elements that we were unsure of, but we were so thankful for the people around us in that time, because I think it definitely did take somewhat of the weight off of us stepping in. And we always like to say, then people turn around and say, well, you had it so easy. And I think it's a tricky one to discuss, but at the end of the day, Matt and I have built inroads over many years with many people. And I think that is actually the key to, stepping out into the space. It's not like this key moment where you decide to switch it off and start something new. Matt and I had been building relationships for many years before that held us in good stead for actually taking that final plunge. And so it's not necessarily that it was an overnight thing. It was many years, many conversations, not necessarily doing it for that purpose, but just being intentional with people like the wealth advisor who played such a big role. We had just invested in being a good friend to her. And it just worked out that way.
I have no doubt that the relationships that you guys built throughout the years were a huge foundation and a huge help to give you that support to make the quote unquote jump into this. Of course, that helps you feel structured and supported. I don't know if it makes it any easier. I don't think it's fair for people to say you had it easier. I think it's fair to say you were smart about building relationships, but you didn't. I know you don't do it the back of your mind, thinking that you're going to get something out of it. I know you guys are super sincere in your relationship building. You really care about people, and it just, it comes back to you in a way of people supporting you whenever you make, ready to make those decisions. So it was all fruit of the labor, unintentionally, but you were building those relationships for a reason. So since we're talking about partnership, let's just go there now. Did you hear from a lot of people that you shouldn't go into business with your friend? That was a bad idea. How many times did you hear that?
I think we hear it all the time. And to be completely honest, as financial support and services, we get a pretty gnarly look into people's lives and business owners' lives often. And I think, it's really important to just consider. I was actually having a conversation, when was it, sort of late last week, with a business owner thinking about a potential partnership. And it sounds like we always hear the worst of partnerships, and we see that happening a lot of the time. I think there are lots of people that may question that, but I think, Matt and I have a very unique relationship where there's a lot of trust that has been built, and a lot of openness, and the ability to just be completely honest with one another is something that's really stood us in good stead. I can think of a number of moments where we often think, like, if you had to look here in my office, I've got our legacy journey up here. And one of the key things for success is to love. That's like one of the things that we define as success, is to love people. And, we always think in the world that love is this like awesome feeling. But I think there's this beauty of, in a partnership, to love is to really discern and be wise in like how you lead the other person too. And I think that's where we've struck a really great balance of understanding our friendship, understanding our business partnership, and understanding that, yes, we've had some amazing moments together, but we're also looking to refine one another. And that's at the heart of everything we're doing, is we're going, like, is Matt, being me, or Matt being Matt Smith, becoming a better human being and becoming someone of sound character, and being able to hold each other accountable to those things has been a great part of that partnership. So it feels unique. It doesn't feel like I've really had this partnership with anyone else. Obviously, we have our wives, which we like, yes, we're married to our wives. But other than that, this relationship is really important. And I think it's one that really speaks into how we are growing as people. And we're still learning. We're wanting to be better. We're wanting to help people. We're wanting to be caring and thoughtful in the way that we live our lives. And I think this is one of those relationships that really just distills and refines that.
Yeah. And I think everybody starts from that place of like, good intentions, and they choose somebody they get along with well and they have a strong relationship with. And I think where people get into trouble is when things are not properly defined, when there is not boundaries to protect a relationship outside of work, right? So I think there's a lot of things that people miss when they're trying to be nice but not kind, because those things are different. You can be nice and not be truthful to somebody, and you can be kind and be telling them the truth, even though it might be a little bit hurtful. So I think one question I have for you guys, did you guys start with, was there a contract? Was there documentation of your partnership in the beginning? Or is it something that happened maybe a few years into or a few months into?
We do have a contract. I wouldn't say it's like, my wife's a lawyer, so she would probably tear it to shreds if she had to really pick it apart. But it's there, and I agree with you. It's there to protect, ultimately it's to protect Matt, and it's to protect me, it's to protect my family, it's to protect Matt's family. And it's one of those things, we put it there and we put it away in the filing cabinet, and we hope to never actually need to use it. But it's there if we ever do need to check it out. And so I wouldn't say we invested a huge amount of money. I don't want to say it's a very complicated structure, but it is there if we ever do need it. We've been going for 3 years now, and it's probably wise for us to, in the next year or two, take it out, make sure it's still applicable. The company's changed so much in the last 3 years, so we need to make sure that it is still relevant. And ultimately, I think there are things that happen that are out of our control that actually have nothing to do with a breakdown in relationship, to be honest. Something something unfortunate could happen to Matt or I, and there's nothing necessarily bad that happened with our relationship, but it still requires us to have some kind of documentation in place to govern that kind of event. And so I think it is wise to have that in place, and would definitely advise people who are stepping into some kind of partnership to do that. And I think it's even more than that. It comes back to, I think, with partnership, there's this deep accountability to the person that you're in partnership with. We think about getting married, and there's marriage certificate, and it depends on where you're getting married, but there might be some kind of filing that's required. And yes, there's the paper itself. Maybe there's nothing in the paper, but there's something deep in what it represents. And it's the same with having a partnership agreement or some kind of founding documentation. There's like, I'm accountable to Matt and he's accountable to me, and together we are going to steward this business in the best of our abilities together. And I think there's something really epic about it. I always love to say, and Matt the same, is like, when you're in partnership, all your troubles are shared. They're not necessarily halved. Sometimes they're halved, but they're often shared. And all your successes are like doubled, because whenever I'm having a good day, Matt gets to celebrate in that. And when I'm having a tough day, Matt gets to help carry the load. So, and vice versa. So I just think I couldn't imagine doing it any other way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's just where my fractional CEO brain goes, like making sure that there is structures and systems to protect not just the business, but your relationship. And that's just, like you said, is a testament to the protection of the relationship when you get into business together, is to make sure that there is something in writing when it comes to decision making, when it comes to hiring, when it comes to the culture. I know you guys are very invested into building a culture in your business, and that you do reflect on it often, which I'm sure that causes changes. So yeah, so really, really good to have that top of mind. So let's talk a little bit about hiring people. Most founders hire help, but still feel like they're alone and they're doing a lot. So what do you think that actually creates a team that feels like a team and not just a group of freelancers doing tasks in your business?
I would say what creates a team, we've gone the route of really focusing on sort of more W-2 employee-based hiring. We strongly believe in hiring people who have similar values to what we stand for. I think values are such an important part of business. Larger than that, what really creates a sense of not just showing up for work, doing the tasks, leaving, is how do we build a group of people, and when I say that, Matt and I can never motivate people. Like, we can only create an environment for people to motivate themselves. And so our focus is not really on, what can we do to make their, and yeah, there are ways that we do this, but what ways can we make their lives better within the business? We're trying to build a bigger vision that they can buy into. And so it's an interesting dynamic. And I think it's a lot of the conversations we have with founders too, is you do something for someone. Like, that is what you do. But why you do it is really important. And I know we can go the whole Simon Sinek route of find your why. And I think it is really important. But what is that overarching aspect or vision that you're trying to create? So, we are financial service providers in the fact that we do bookkeeping, accounting. We then provide financial strategy. We do reporting and analysis. Does everyone get up every morning to be excited about those things? I certainly don't. When you think about it and we think about what we can do through that lens is where it becomes this shared vision. So we in the business of helping people flourish, that's what we think about. How are we helping our founders flourish? Because we believe if we can help them make really great decisions through the financial lens, that's going to impact their teams. It's going to impact their families. It's going to impact their communities. It's going to give them the space and time to do that. And so when we start looking sort of above and beyond what we just do on a daily basis, we start to find people who are excited about being part of what we're trying to build. And we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to help our team flourish. What does that look like? Last year, we had so many highs in our business with people buying homes for their families, people, falling pregnant and having new families, being able to finish their studies. It's just like been a really great testament of let's focus on those things. Yes, the day-to-day happens every day. And so that's sort of been a really big part of how we've hired and making sure people are aligned to that. We also trying to do things very differently to the archaic financial industry and bring a bit more color to the way we do work. And I think people appreciate that. And it's a give and take, like I think there's a care and accountability part of building teams that's really important. Like we really think that we need to take care of our teams, but we expect our teams to also sort of meet us at the line and take accountability and provide really excellent service for the people we serve.
Yeah, I mean, how do you find those like values? And because I think that's like, yeah, we all understand that would make a great team. But when you're interviewing somebody, when you're down to the logistics, like how do you get into that? Like how do you find those people? What are the things that you guys have done in the past that help you select those, those perfect teammates that are now part of your business?
And we've done it some different ways. And I think when we first started the business, I can't even remember if it was like the first week or the second week of getting going. We sat down with, in actual fact, Matt's dad. He helps businesses structure their culture and get alignment on values. And we did that. We spent, I don't even know if it was 2 hours, 3 hours sitting down. Like, what does life look like for you, Matt? What does life look like for you? And where do we want to go with this business? And we spent a lot of time unpacking what we both stand for. What are we trying to build here? We fleshed that out in the coming months, and Matt built this epic culture document. And it's kind of like what we go back to often and say, why are we here? Because the day-to-day things run away from us and we get stuck in the mess. And it's good to always reflect back, why are we here? And as Matt mentioned, we truly believe we're here to help people flourish. And we do that through all of our core values. And before we interview, or as part of the interview process, we always share that document. We want to get a sense of whether people that we're interviewing feel connected and aligned to it. So I think that's helpful. We've had somewhat of a robust interview process up until this point. Our team at the moment, we're sitting at nine people, and every single one of them are like absolute epic humans. They are so talented in unique ways. And we had this, sorry to go on a tangent, but we had a client who Matt and I became pretty good friends with, and they eventually outgrew our services. Their company was just skyrocketing, and they actually had to get an in-house CFO. And his sort of like parting advice to us I think it was about a year and a half ago, was always hire people that are better than you. And Matt and I have done our best to do exactly that ever since then. We've always wanted to elevate our business through the people that we bring on. And I think we've done a great job, and I hope we continue to do that. And because of that, we haven't really, we've really held the line on making sure the right people are joining this journey. We've had a blend of knowing some people before, through life, who are obviously qualified and talented in many respects. But because we've known them outside of work, we can obviously vouch for their character and what they stand for. So we've had a couple of those people join us. And then we've had a really awesome recruiting company that we've partnered with over the last 2 years. They have been super intentional in understanding who we are and what we're trying to build. At the same time, we feel very aligned to what they are building. They're also a partnership, weirdly enough, and they have been instrumental in helping us find really, really, really good candidates to grow our team. And so we've had a bit of finding people on our own and partnering with a recruitment company who is really on a journey with us as well.
That's such a good advice to really it comes from you having a very clear understanding of what things look like and what they should look like and what the culture really is. Because if you don't have that down, then you're just trying to guess and trying to make people fit into places when there's not really established culture to begin with. So when people come into a company where they can understand what they're getting into, it makes a lot easier and safer for them to really show who they are and then focus on their skills and focus on growing the company. What such a good advice from your client friend talking about making sure that you hire people that are better than you. And that's not easy to do for people. Sometimes a lot of founders are scared to bring people on that quote unquote know more than they do and are better than they are, because what if I'm no longer the go-to person to answer everything? What if that makes me feel like I'm losing control of being the important person? Because a lot of us attach that being needed to value, right? And if you're no longer the person who answers all the questions and holds all the knowledge, that can be hard. So very, very great advice, but hard to put into place for sure.
It's such an interesting one. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. There is like this, like, oh no, like what does this mean for me and my role? But the interesting thing is that when we ask founders, what do they want more of? They want more autonomy. They want other people to take ownership. And so it's like this weird, well, that's what you want, then hire somebody who can do it. And I can say, like, Matt and I have done this, and our people have taken this business into, in directions that we never thought possible. And it was, in directions that Matt and I were not capable of taking the business. And so we're so thankful that we made those, let's call it sacrifices of control, because it's helped the company flourish.
This episode is brought to you by my 101 Freedom First Leadership Coaching. This is for founders who are still the glue in their company and want to become the calm, precise CEO. Together, we will redesign your role, install clean decision rights, and delegate outcomes with a clear definition of done. You'll leave with a weekly operating cadence, a 90-day plan, and the confidence to scale without being on call to everything. If you want high standards at a human pace, apply now at accidentalceo.co/coaching. That's accidentalceo.co/coaching. Yeah, so I talk a lot on Matt, I'll let you add in a second. Matt, talk a lot about delegation and the identity shift that happens when you are learning to step out of that operator seat, right? Which is where we all start when we start our business. You guys were like doing the thing, the day-to-day work. You were the CEOs, but also the COOs, but also, the task, managers and people doing everything. And then how do you change your identity? Because it's not just recognizing you need the help and you want that freedom. People do that, like you said. Like everybody says they want the freedom, they want the space to breathe, but then they have a hard time letting go, right? And that's why I work a lot with clients on that, because there is an identity shift that needs to happen. So a lot to hear from Matt B too. And then how did you guys figure out a way to learn how to trust the team and kind of step back a little bit and let go of that control?
I mean, I think we're still learning, to be completely honest. I think it'll always be a learning experience. I think I just go back to one of the things that I think we've done quite well, at least from the hiring perspective, and you speak about delegation, and is bringing team members into that process too. Like at the end of the day, this isn't Matt and my business. This is all of our business. And so we've really done, we've got blind spots too. We look at candidates and we go, these seem like great people. And yet we are so protective of what we've built in terms of culture and the people in our team, very different personalities, and like how do those two mix? So we spend a lot of time within the interview process also giving people access to our team and our team access to the people to see how will they fit in. So that's just like a side note. I think where we've really struggled is Matt and I are both very relational people. And like you say, I think what you share is like this desire to feel needed, and like we get our worthiness from being needed. And so a lot of the time, Matt and I were obviously client facing and building relationships, and being able to sort of relinquish some of that control on the building of relationship. One of our core values is human connection, and knowing that we do it in different ways, but also giving the space and freedom for our new team members to build trust and us to not overstep our boundaries and marks, because we know that if we do, we get caught up in this world of we want to have relationships with our clients. That's really important to us. But at the same time, in order for us to have more impact, it can't just be Matt and myself. That has been a really big learning for us. And I think it's changed the structure that we've done our business of we trying to build smaller moments where Matt and I get to connect with clients and rather spend way more time feeding into our team on the back end to help them and equip them to build these relationships. Most of them are more than capable of building way better relationships than us. So it's literally more of a personal thing for Matt and I to just let go. And like you said, it's a hard dynamic. I think it is about giving people the space and the freedom to try. Like often new clients, for example, have never experienced relationships with Matt and I. And so they know nothing else than what we're providing. And I think being able to change that mindset and the way you articulate your offering become a really important part as you step away from the doing all the time. But Matt and I also just know that if this business is to have greater impact, we're going to need to work on the business and not in the business. And so that's what we keep trying to remind ourselves on those tough times where we feel like we need to be in the nitty gritty.
Yeah. And as we say all that, I'm going to add that I'm happy that I came in where I could have a relationship with the two of you. And the back end of it, I'm glad I got access to you guys because you guys are so amazing.
It's been a really hard shift for us because when we started, it's always been the Mats, like you should work with the Mats. And now we've like tried to also like, this isn't the Mats, this is the WORTTTH team. It's been we love all the relationships that we've been able to build, and we're so grateful for it. And we keep, we just do it in a different capacity now with all our clients. But it's been part of the journey of learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy, but you see the value and it's where you need to go as a company. It's a lot of self work. And it's not even that you don't trust the team. It's like that's part of how you feed your soul, right? Is those relationships. So yeah, it's hard. So you've worked with some legacy brands, but it's very clear that you're not just trying to build like a big corporate machine. You guys are very, like we just said, very big into relationships. So how do you maintain the high standards while you keep the soul in the room for your business?
So I think, again, a lot of the clients that we are being referred by like-minded people. And I think it's the one beautiful thing about referrals is they're coming from people who already know and are aware of the type of people that we are and the business that we're building. I think that helps a lot in, let's call it, vetting potential clients that come through our door. And we've been very lucky to have had, pretty much only amazing clients come knocking on our door. And we're so thankful for the journey that we've had the ability to walk with many of them. And some clients have outgrown us and have gone in different directions. And I don't think we've like really struggled too much culturally, for the most part. I think we have always articulated really clearly that we, are very integrous people. And so we're not looking to cut corners. And so, we've stood firm when we needed to stand firm. But at the end of the day, I think we want to build friendship and relationships with a lot of our clients, and so and go on a journey with them. That's not a short-term thing. So we do need to be thinking, well, when somebody joins us, do we see ourselves working with them 5-10 years down the line? And I think that's a big question that Matt and I have to ask each other regularly. Is this the type of client that we want to journey with for that amount of time? And granted, I say that when we get referred clients, they are for the most part aligned. We have had one or two that aren't aligned. And I think those where we've maybe taken a leap of faith and thought it was a good alignment, they will always come to light, typically in the first year, if it's not going to work. Like any relationship, rather early on than 6 years down the line. So we've been very lucky in that regard. I don't know, Matt, anything to add there?
I think one of the things that is really important to us is another core value of ours is excellence. I think Matt spearheads that really, really well. We are being a little counterintuitive in how we're trying to build this business. We work with founders and we love to dream big, but we're very, very focused on the foundation that we build. For that reason, we're not trying to go wide, we're trying to go deep. And so that often means less clients and more focus. And that's stood us in good stead. So like we're not trying to grow rapidly. We tier our onboarding to make sure that we do an excellent job when clients come on as recurring clients. I think, as Matt said, integrity is important. And we do, we work with incredible people. And at the end of the day, we need to be good stewards of people's businesses from a financial perspective. So if we see that this business isn't at a level right now that we can help, like as hard as that is for us, when you think about what that looks like from a business perspective, we've got to be honest and truthful to that person. It's the same as like, if we're not completely aligned in terms of where this business is going, we've got to say it, because that's out of integrity from our side, that we're not going to be the best people for you. And so I think it's really important as we build that this level of excellence continues to, like, we don't mind not growing at the pace that we could grow when you can. There's a great we do a little moment of magic sort of every client meeting where we share like a little video or something like that. And one of the videos is Charlie Mackesy, who wrote a book, and he was just speaking about the impact that he had on just one person, saving someone's life basically through this book. And I think we try and resonate with that and saying, yes, of course, we want to have impact with many people. But if we can change one business owner's life through deep work, I think we're still achieving the same outcome. We really want to treat each business owner as if they were the only client we had.
And you do. I can attest to that. That says a lot about the high standards, a human pace, right? So that's my motto for my company. And I think you guys walk those lines very, very well too, is you understand the impact comes from the time that you dedicate and the excellence that comes with it, and the kindness of saying no when is a no, and being upfront. So I love all of that. Was there a moment where you realized that you were accidentally creating the wrong culture in your team or reinforcing wrong norms, and what shifted, and how did you realize and maybe shifted that?
I think Matt said pretty early on that we have a very safe and open relationship where we can speak openly. And there have been times, I think Matt and I we have young families, and we strive to have better balance. At the same time, like, we are somewhat workaholics, like many founders out there. We love to work. And I think we've had to be really intentional about, well, even if we don't want to set a culture like that in our business, even though we sometimes feel like that comes through in the way we show up, we've had to be pretty intentional about the way in which we communicate with our team, and the way in which we communicate with our clients, and not setting a standard that we don't actually want to have in place. And so we're still very much on a journey in terms of giving ourselves the room and space to switch off, that we're trying our best to make sure that our team always feels that way. I don't know, a very small example is like making sure we don't communicate with our team after hours. We can schedule the message to go through the next day, or find another time to have that connection if it isn't critical. And in actual fact, even if it is critical, we usually keep that between Matt and I. If it's after hours, anything else can wait till the next day.
Yeah. I would also say that there's this implicit pressure that behaviors can put on team, what Matt is speaking about, like with these messages. Like, even if we say to our team, no, you don't need to be online after hours, but Matt and I are communicating with clients after hours all the time. It's like, it's the question is, do they expect me to be on, or should I be on? And I think that's an unfair, and so we've tried to be really transparent with that. There's a fine balance in culture where it's this care and accountability aspect of it. And I think there's times that we have to check ourselves more on the accountability side than on the care side. Like, Matt's probably the most generous person I've ever met. And so we are trying to always be generous in what we do for our team. But that also then sets an expectation. And so it's hard to hold people then accountable to what's required of them. Luckily for us, we have an incredible team who are self-starters, and they go above and beyond in terms of their integrity and doing great work. But I think it's something that we've always got to check. We've always got to come back to. But yeah, we're pretty set on culture. But like you say, culture changes, environments change. Culture is just the way we do things around here. And when new people come in, they bring a different sense. And so what started as, and what will always be important from the founder's perspective of what our values are and what's important to us, we start to bring in other people's things that are important to them. And so we do this on sort of a yearly basis. We do a culture assessment where we look at what is everyone's personal values, what is the current values being experienced within our organization, and what are people wanting more of in terms of values. And we are then able to sort of tweak and think about, well, what does that actually mean in the business?
Yeah, so good. Love that. We're all still learning in the journey. We're trying our best. And things change and our own values change, as family gets added into the picture. Sometimes you start this business as a single person and then, or just married with no kids, and then kids come in and then they make you cry during meetings. And when you go read to their third grade class. So here we are, right? Still changing and evolving. All right. It's time for our new podcast tradition. I'm going to pull a random card here and ask you guys this question. We'll see what comes out of it. So here's your card. What's something you dislike that most people like? Just a random one. I can tell you mine's cookies. I can care less for cookies. I did not grow up eating them. You can put up a whole plate in front of me and I would just walk away. You're safe around me.
Definitely not safe around me. I can tell you that. I do enjoy many things. I think obviously I'm quite a picky eater, so there's lots of food I don't like, which might come as a surprise to some. Like, I know Matt's also got some unique food allergies.
I have one for you. Matt Smith does not like sitting. I've never seen this man sit during any of our meetings. He's currently standing now too, and I'm sure most people love to sit.
That is true.
He doesn't. So
it probably stems from a bigger. I don't like to be still, and so that's probably something. I appreciate rest and downtime, but I don't do it enough, and that's probably indicative of not enjoying it despite knowing it's important. And probably that's why I'm kind of I'm a little bit of a fiddler, so I'll always be doing something even if I'm working.
I mean, tomatoes are the first thing that come to mind. Most people enjoy tomatoes. I don't like tomatoes. But I'm trying to think of something other than food.
Food is easy to go to. I hate football games. I don't need to go to any of them. Like, I didn't watch it yesterday. I don't need to go to the stadium. Crowds. You have to convince me to be. I grew up in crowds.
What about like a really good music concert? That thing that Matt and I love to do.
Yeah, I can get dragged to one if you get me a good good VIP, seat and a good music. But it's just not my thing. I've grew to dislike crowds after getting older. Now that I'm turning 35, Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think there was a lot of value between, talking about partnerships and talking about culture. And I'm so grateful to have you in my world. And tell everybody, where can they find you if they are ready to work with you?
You can find us online on our Instagram page is at WORTTTH with 3 T's. You can also visit our website at WORTTTH.com, or you could just email us at team@worth.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
As soon as tax season is over.
Exactly.
Leave them alone for a while. Let them get things figured out for other clients. They're busy.
We're getting there.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll link everything for you guys, and thank you for hanging out with me, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.